Hello, and welcome to another Tutor Talks. I'm Krisjay, and I think you have heard me mentioned on this channel, and now I'm in this weird situation where I have to introduce a video that is not on my channel. But yeah, in this case, it sort of needs to be done because I'm interviewing the normal host on this channel, and that's ADEnglish.
Hi there.
Hello.
Oh, sorry.
So you can sort of imagine me as the guy with the big microphone, and ADEnglish is here with all the answers. Let's start, I think, with the first basic question that you have asked. I think all of the people that were in these videos. So how did you get into Blood Bowl?
Well, my main foray into Blood Bowl has been this game, Blood Bowl 2, but I did actually used to play the tabletop when I was about 13 years old. But when I say play the tabletop, I mean that I played with a friend, we pretended that we knew the rules, and we had a go at the game. And basically it involved just punching each other until the whole team was dead, and using like 3 rerolls per turn and crazy things like this. We didn't really know the rules that well.
Alright.
I also played the first Blood Bowl, the Chaos Edition, but mostly my experiences come from Blood Bowl 2 itself, mostly playing orks and the Stumblers that many of you probably know because you've been watching my videos.
Yeah.
And sorry, one thing I normally do at the start of this video is I ask the coach to introduce himself. I didn't warn you about that, so sorry, Chris. But just to introduce myself briefly to this league, I am the Orc specialist, apparently. I'm also down as a Chaos and a Dwarf specialist, but I'm not a specialist in those 2 teams at all. So, Orc specialist, that's who I am.
Yeah, I would strongly agree to that as well, because I've taken some tips from you as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I haven't publicly announced it, but I can do it now.
Okay.
So yeah, I've used some tips that you have mentioned in your videos, I think.
That's interesting, because you're a very good Orc coach as well, so that's a good compliment. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. How did you get into Blood Bowl, Chris?
I think it was you who said that there was another YouTuber who was playing Blood Bowl 2.
Wow, Crandall?
With his friends. Yeah, it was Krender.
Yeah.
And I watched a couple of games when he played, and I really wanted to try. And I just played through the campaign, and then I took a long pause, and then I saw a guy called Fallen Glory advertising his newly made league, and I decided to join.
Have you been here since season 1?
Yeah.
Ah, I think I joined in season 3.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's basically it. Yeah, I just liked how it looked, how it played, and yeah, I haven't played much tactical sports games before, just management games, and yeah, this just seemed really interesting, and also the fantasy setting is appealing to me, so I liked it from the start.
No, fair enough. Me too. I mean, I have played tactical sports game in the past, but not like this. I mean, turn-based games, not at all. It doesn't really happen, so...
Yeah, they're quite rare as well.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And did you start out right away with the orcs, or a different team?
Well, when I was a teen, I had an orc team. The tabletop team was an orc team. I only had 3 black orcs, though. I never bought the 4th one. Sometimes I pretend the goblin was a black orc if I didn't want to play with a goblin, but
okay,
you know, I only had 3 models actually.
Mm-hmm.
And those models are long gone. No, on the Blood Bowl 2 game, I went straight into the crazy. One of the first games I played was an all-human lineman team, and then after that I created the Stumblers. And the Stumblers that you've seen in silver, I mean, they've been the, I don't know, 20th version of the team.
Okay.
So I've been playing Stumblers for a long time now, and other crazy setups.
Mm-hmm.
I basically read all the advice from people, said forget that, and I did something completely opposite. That was how I played for a long time. and it was fun.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Although the humans were the first team as well, but I played a normal setup, if you would say so, with an ogre and a thrower and whatever you have. And then I took the orks, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so you got into orcs really quickly too.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, when I think about it, my first foray on the computer was in Blood Bowl 1, and I took dwarves first. That was the first team I played. Because I liked the way they looked better than any other team, so I took them. No strategy involved, just aesthetic reasons.
Yeah. All right, let's go on to the next question.
Okay.
What do you think is the basic strategy with orcs?
I think there's two basic strategies, and I think you and I are actually two good examples of the two basic strategies. You play, I would say, a more conventional orc setup and orc team and orc play in general, where basically you have a line defense and you slowly make your way forward. That's
Yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah, I'm just agreeing loudly.
Okay, that's fine. Whereas I play a slightly different tactic that is unusual for many coaches, but I actually think it's scarier when you're playing against it. And I play actually a passing game with orcs, but the passes are always short. And the thrower is actually the key piece in my team, always. So when he has the ball, I hope that players follow him, and then when they do, he gets rid of the ball and gives it to something higher up the field, and the orcs move a lot quicker than a normal orc team. In defense, though, it's very much a hold the line in the same way. Just keep a straight line and just punch things until they can't get through anymore.
All right. So that would lead on to the next question, I think.
Okay.
Oh, you sort of half answered it. Which is the most important piece in an orc team?
Yeah. I think in most people's orc teams, they wouldn't say the same as me. They wouldn't say the thrower is the key piece at all. So it's a key piece for me, but I don't think it's a key piece for an orc team, if that makes sense. Most people,
Alright.
I think, would say blitzers are the key pieces because they can move and they can defend, whereas black orcs basically just very slowly push their way up the line. There is a second orc strategy that I forgot to mention as well that I use a lot as well with the black orcs. I like to keep all four of my black orcs together, and I do what I like to call a creeping death in attack, which means that basically they punch their way up. They try to move at least 2 squares each turn, and by turn 6, turn 7, I'm in a position to score with the thrower or the goblin, depending on who has the ball. Though the game that you can see in the background, Krisjay can't see, but you guys watching can see, I was playing the passing play more than the creeping death play, and I wish I was playing creeping death in this game actually. In terms of key pieces though, I think, like I said, blitzes are the key piece, especially when the team starts to develop. And I think that there is a weak link in the team as well. I think that is the troll. I find the troll a completely useless piece, personally. It's an extra black orc basically, but it's stupid and it can cost you a game very often. So I never take a troll unless I'm doing it for fun.
Alright. I wouldn't completely agree to that.
Okay.
About the troll, because if you manage your control the risk and sort of use the troll as the last piece in any turn, he's not that bad, I think. Because normally you have someone beside him because he's really dumb, and if he loses the tackle zones, then there should be someone beside him who keeps those tackle zones up anyway. But I had some problems with troll as well, so I kind of agree with you, but at the same time it's manageable.
Yeah, I'd agree it is manageable, but I think it's unnecessary in this team. I think he can have a use if you can use him properly, but I don't think it's necessary. There's enough strength here already. And I think orcs are the one team where it's really weird, where there isn't a piece that isn't useful. Apart from the troll maybe, but I mean, the blitzers, the linemen, the black orcs, they all basically do the same job. They just do it with different strength and different skills usually.
Yeah. Well, what about goblins?
Goblins are also one of my personal key pieces, but I know a lot of people don't like them. I think you're in the camp of not really liking goblins as well, if I remember rightly.
Well, they die most of the time on my team, so I don't like them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you and I use goblins very differently though. My goblin is always out of the way, though again in this game the coach is actually doing very well of locking the goblin down. But generally speaking, I try to keep my goblin in the middle of a pack of big guys, and everybody always aims for the goblin, so he's kind of like a bluff piece at the same time. Mm-hmm. So I want people to go towards the goblin so I can fight people away from the goblin, if that's clear.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on goblins?
Yeah, it depends on how you use them. In a strength setup, where you slowly creep forward with the big guys and blitzers, I don't think he's really necessary unless you maybe want to do the fouling game. That's I think proper use for a goblin. And then, as you say, yeah, there might be cases when you want to draw the defense away, but it could be done with a blitzer much better, I think, because if you run away with the goblin, the other guy maybe needs to take just one guy away from the defensive line, but if you run away with a blitzer, he will take maybe two guys away from the defensive line. So yeah, it can go both ways, I think, but yeah, I kind of agree with you that goblins could be useful as well on the orc team.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you in regards to the blitzer taking way more players, but I know again, Krisjay, you can't see, but if you look at what's going on the pitch in front of you, viewers, you can see actually that there are 4 pieces standing on the goblin right now, so the entire defense is in one centralized place. Also, the goblin is very fast, which is unusual in an orc team, and he has dodge, which is really useful, I find.
Yeah, that's true. And he has the stunty as well, which sometimes works miracles on the pitch.
It works miracles if you're running away. It's a devastating skill if you're getting punched. Mostly.
Right. Then what are some essential level ups for the orcs? In case, well, you started off with the passing game, in that case.
Yeah, I start off with passing game, but there's only 2 passing pieces. Funny enough, I'm passing to a different piece, but still. There's only 2 pieces involved in passing generally. It's the thrower and the goblin. The only other viable option is a blitzer to receive. But in terms of the passing play, I think the essential skill ups are catch and sure feet on a goblin.
Mm-hmm.
With a thrower, I usually go for something like accurate, but obviously block and dodge if I can get it as well. I either go accurate block or block accurate, depending on how much block I have in the team. Then for all of the defensive pieces, they need mostly strength skills. Guard is terrifying on literally any orc, so I often have a lot of guard on my team, and I usually alternate between Mighty Blow and Guard. So I have 2 Black Orcs with Guard, 2 Black Orcs with Mighty Blow, 2 Blitzers with Guard, 2 Blitzers with Mighty Blow. Usually one with Tackle as well, just to kill some elves.
Yeah.
If I'm going to go Troll, though, I have gone Troll, and well, crazy things like Hail Mary Pass can be funny for throwing the Goblin, but otherwise, mostly it's things like Stand Firm, Guard again, and I don't really activate the Troll, I just use them there as a roadblock.
Mm-hmm.
And same with Black Orcs actually, Stand Firm and Grab can be very useful skills as well. Whereas the Blitzers are mostly your Hunter-Destroyer type pieces, so they're going to be taking things like Tackle, Mighty Blow, Guard.
Yeah, I've had some time with orcs, and one important skill that I would recommend for a thrower is the kickoff return. Which sort of eliminates the slowness, of the thrower, because it's just movement 5 for him, and with that you get 3 extra moves just right after kickoff. So I found it really useful on the thrower. And for the troll break tackle, I've surprised a couple of coaches with my troll with break tackle.
Yeah, I can see it working for a troll, sure. I can see it working for a black orc as well, actually.
Yeah, probably, but I haven't had the luck to get doubles on a black orc. I haven't tried it.
He doesn't need doubles for break tackle. He has access to strength.
Oh yeah, all right. Well, then I don't know. I haven't used it.
It's not something you take first. It's something you take third or fourth.
Third, yeah. I haven't had that many level ups with my highest orcs.
To be honest, I kind of feel the same with the kickoff return on the thrower. I think it's third skill, after block, after pass or accurate, and then kickoff return comes after that for me. But for you, obviously not.
For me, kickoff return would be the third skill, I think, after block and another one. I don't remember which one I take normally. I can quickly check. Maybe a bit later.
There's another one that is quite useful, and that's Nerves of Steel. But I usually take it 4th or 5th on the thrower if he gets that far without dying.
Yeah, it's for your passing setup. I normally use the thrower as the main ball carrier, so I don't take the passing skills for my main thrower. I maybe take another thrower later on and then develop him as a passing guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people do it that way, but you know me. I'm down as a passing expert as well. That's the other thing I'm down as, funnily enough. But yeah, I think that's just because I managed to pass with a skeleton team.
Yeah. Yeah, I also have Fend on my thrower.
Yeah,
so
Fend.
It's harder.
Yeah, Fend is a good one too.
Yeah. Okay. So we've done with skills, and now we should talk about your favorite opponents when you play orcs. So which are the best matchups against orcs, and why?
To be honest, orcs are the only team where I'm never afraid, no matter what team pops up. Even if it's a stronger team as well. If it's got 400 plus TV, that doesn't scare me at all as orcs. Whereas with other teams, that kind of thing usually scares me. The only team that I don't really struggle against, but I think have a good chance of fighting orcs toe-to-toe, well, there's two actually. I sometimes have problems with dwarves, and I sometimes have problems with lizardmen. But agility-based teams, no problem for me. And anything that's hybrid, they're the favourite things I can see, because I can really make a mess of a hybrid team the way I play. With the combination of defensive blocking and passing orcs, because hybrid teams are usually out of position against orcs because they want to run around an orc team.
Alright. I don't know if it's true in general, but in ICBBL I've had problems with Skaven when I'm playing orcs. They just are too fast for orcs, I think, and they can run around as they wish, I think. And I had really big problems against Skaven. But maybe it's just because we have really good coaches in the league as well. So
I think that's part of it. The really good coaches, I mean. Skaven and Wood Elves can cause problems if the coach is really good at basically staying away from you. But if a coach is really good at staying away from me, I screen more than actually base the pieces, personally. And they struggle then. Because they have to play a bash game and they don't want to. Whereas orcs can play a control game.
Alright, and would you agree that the teams that have most players in a team have armor value 7, are they easier opponents for orcs or not?
I think when you see a team like Norse, you're kind of frothing at the mouth and ready to kill some Vikings. But because basically the way they play, they have to go toe to toe with you. They don't have a choice really. So, and that's great for orcs because that's what they want to do. But things like elves and Skaven, on the one hand, I am really happy to see them, but on the other hand, I know it's going to be a bit of a grind playing against them. So even though there's a good chance I'm going to injure them, I don't actually care so much about that. So I actually prefer to see another slow-moving team than a quick-moving team.
All right. Are there so yeah you kind of answered both questions about good and bad opponents with orcs. So let's move on to some rookie mistakes maybe. What are the biggest rookie mistakes that you have seen?
Okay, we'll go on to rookie mistakes in a moment, but part of the question on the teams that are bad are how do I deal with them. So when I'm playing dwarves and when I'm playing lizards, there is actually a strategy for both, I found. With dwarves, it's basically play keep away. So make sure I get hold of the ball and just make the dwarves chase me all around the pitch. And
so kind of like you're playing elves.
Yeah. Really slow, really big elves, yeah. That's how I play against dwarves in general, to be honest. No matter what team I'm playing against, I try to play the keep away game. And when playing against lizards, I find it's always best to force them to one flank because lizards don't like being cornered. Whereas other teams are kind of fine with that, but it's really bad for lizards because they can't protect their skinks, and the saurus and crocs are automatically out of position if you force them to one side. It's if you go back and watch the first game in the Tutor Talks, you'll see what I mean when I was playing against Fallen Glory. It was a good example of that kind of strategy.
All right, I'll take note of it.
What about you, by the way? Do you have a team that comes up and you think, oh no, not them? Other than Skaven, you said that, sorry, but is there any other that is a problem?
Normally it's any team that Fallen Glory plays, because I have never had luck against him with my orcs. I keep losing. No, not one real enemy that I would be scared of, except maybe Skaven.
Okay. Yeah, I think Skaven are a bit of a... Skaven are the one team that I think, okay, I wouldn't say I'm going to win the game easily, but I'm not going to hold this game easily. It's going to be a fight. So I kind of agree with the Skaven are a problem, actually. And how do you deal with Skaven?
Well, I need to play with them more, against them more. Now that I've played with Skaven myself, I maybe could try and deal with them. Maybe just building a defensive line where they have to, and I force them to run around my team with through my tackle zones. Maybe that's a way, but I don't know really how to force them run through. If they can just I don't know, stay away and then use some hole in my line and then run through. I haven't tested it, so I can't really tell.
No, that's fair. In terms of playing against Skaven in general, not just for orcs actually, but in terms of playing against Skaven, I find that the mistake I always see coaches making, I make it myself sometimes as well, I admit this, it's too tempting to get right up in Skaven's face, but Skaven are happy when you do that, because if you go too far forward, you've got nothing in the back to stop the gutter runner that inevitably breaks through. And I think that's key with orcs more than any other team, orcs and dwarves, because they're so slow. You have to keep players back, basically, when playing Skaven, just in case the Skaven little git manages to break through. And
yeah,
go on.
Yeah, I've been doing that with my orcs. Most recently in the Luck of the Dice as well. I'm keeping at least 2 guys in the back at all times with any team. And yeah, I think that could be a good way to deal with Skaven.
Yeah.
Just as the rat runs behind you, just stomp on it with a blitzer or something like that.
Well, if I have 2 players in the back, I'm actually happy when the rat runs through the gap because I've got 2 players to stomp on him, basically.
Yeah.
So he's left a rat on his own, and the ball is going to go to me as well, probably. So I actually quite like it when a coach does that against me when I'm playing, especially as orcs, but when I'm playing that kind of defensive game against them.
All right. So I skipped that question, so can we go now back to the biggest rookie mistakes?
Sure. In terms of rookie mistakes, there's quite a few that I see often, and I kind of sigh when I see it, especially because I know that I used to do it myself. Still do sometimes. I make mistakes as much as anybody else. People think I'm good at this game for some reason because I do YouTube, I guess, but I'm not that good really. The biggest rookie mistakes I see are relying way too hard on the dice. I mean, it's something that I'm often actually accused of, but if you really watch my game, I don't roll that many dice, whereas a lot of rookie coaches do, where they'll do that extra GFI that they don't really need to do. They'll take that one die block that they don't really need to take, and they find out that at turn 4, turn 5, all their rerolls are gone. Case in point, this game right here actually, the opponent has no rerolls and I still have 2 of mine. And it's because we're taking less risks. But one of the worst mistakes I find, it's the biggest key that you're playing against a rookie, I think, is when they try to activate the big guy as their first action. That I think is one of the worst things you can do in this game. Also, basic things like not moving pieces safely before taking rolls and things like this. Sometimes, of course, there's a need to take a roll before you move a piece, but generally speaking, you want to do safe things before you do dangerous things. So, the rookie mistakes I see are quite regular. Rookie mistakes, basically.
Yeah, you just took words out of my mouth. Some notes, and I just written down the same things. One thing that I can add about mistakes, I think I've seen it in the champion ladder, where I was playing a mirror, orcs against orcs, and we sort of started. Both teams sort of seemed to do the slow attack. And I did it in my wave, so I think I started first, and then the other guy did the same thing on his round. And the mistake he did, he really tried to break through really early, and he left his ball carrier free, I think unguarded. On turn 4 already, he tried to open the defensive line and run through with the ball carrier. I think it's much safer if you just keep the ball carrier in the cage as long as possible. I think maybe turn 6, and then and by that time you should be close to the touchdown line, so you can run in 1 turn or 2 in the worst case. I think that's one thing. If you're doing the slow pushy game, then that you shouldn't be rushing with your scoring.
Yeah.
I think so. I really enjoyed to do that slow pushy game with the Camry when I was playing them, and it worked really well.
Yeah, they're kind of the perfect team for it, actually. If I can just add to that a little bit, actually, there is one more mistake I see all the time, and it's a bit of a strange mistake, but I think it's a lack of understanding of the game that comes up with rookies. There's one thing that a lot of rookies, even intermediate coaches and sometimes experienced coaches, don't know, and there's actually a key point in the game, and that key point is turn 5, 6, and 7 in both drives. And basically, if it's your drive, you've got to be in a position where you're going to score in time and safely. And if it's your opponent's drive, you've got to be in a position where you've slowed the opponent down and they have to take risks to score. And if you haven't done that on either drive, you're probably going to lose the game, or at least draw.
Yeah, I've seen Urban Zorro doing this two-way game where he either lets the opponent score until turn 5 or 4 even, and if the guy doesn't score until then, he just pushes everyone onto the ball carrier. Whatever happens, he just surrounds the ball and doesn't allow it to move forward to try and stop the opponent scoring on in the first half. And he really, I think, has mastered that kind of tactic.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's one of Urban. Urban has a really good understanding of the game, and it shows whenever you're playing against him. And like you just said, that's exactly the kind of thing. He understands that the key point is in the middle, and he forces you to do everything you possibly can to get through him, and taking the risks. Most of the time he's going to actually succeed, you're going to fail.
Yeah, and also he's very lucky.
Well, I think Urban Zorro suffers from the same kind of misconception that I do, where it looks like we take a lot of risks, but we take risks where it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
Mostly. Otherwise, I'd agree. Yeah.
Well, would you have one piece of advice for a new coach with orcs?
I kind of agree with Urban Zorro where it's, don't roll ones. That's the biggest advice you can give to any coach. But it's not just for orcs, but my basic advice is when you're starting off, just try to remember it is a game. It's if you can remember that, then you'll learn. If you can't remember that, then you'll never ever get better. And that's the only advice I'd give to somebody. Don't necessarily follow what people do, but do remember that it's just a game and play it the way you feel comfortable playing, because that's how you'll learn how to play.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I also have an advice. Don't expect to win every game.
Mm-hmm.
I sort of struggled for 2 seasons where I wanted to win every game, and I was feeling miserable after most of them because I just couldn't do it right at the start. And then I just, like you said, changed my mindset and just played the game, enjoyed it. Whatever happened, it was funny or something like that. And yeah, the Blood Bowl just became much better that way.
Yeah, it's actually interesting as well, because whenever I'm doing the replays for games, I'm always relatively serious about the commentary I'm giving. But when I'm actually in game, I have a lot of fun actually, and when I make a mistake, I can laugh about it, and when something goes horribly wrong, I can mostly laugh about it. But yeah, when I'm doing commentary, I'm always so serious. But anybody who's played a game with me, you know that most of the time I'm not very serious on the pitch at all, especially when playing a crazy team.
Yeah, I think I've seen you play crazy teams only, except maybe Luck of the Dice. It's a sort of serious approach from you, I think.
Well, ever since I started YouTube, I kind of went a little bit more serious because I understood that people are watching this and they're taking advice from it. And my joke advice is always take skeletons, but my real advice is don't ever take skeletons. So,
I'll scratch it off my list as good advice. Okay.
There we go.
So what do you think makes a good coach then?
Well,
as opposed to a good one, but a great coach, yeah.
Yeah, what makes a great coach is supposed to be a good one. To be honest, I think adaptability is the key trait for any coach. Being able to change your game when it's not working. I mean, if you have a strategy and your opponent has broken that strategy, then change the strategy. I think that's the main difference between a good coach and a great coach. A good coach keeps doing what they know or what they think works, and when it fails, they have no backup plan. Whereas a great coach, when something goes wrong, they realize and they change what they're doing in the game.
All right, but in that case, do you think orcs are adaptable?
Yes, I think orcs are actually one of the most adaptable teams. Obviously they can't run around too many opponents, but at the end of the day, they can always change the strategy. You don't have to. I said it kind of before, when I'm playing Skaven or when I'm playing Wood Elves, I'm not actually likely to base them, because it's usually a problem, actually. I'm more likely to screen and have a couple of bases and punch 1 or 2 if I can. But a lot of coaches, when they're playing Orcs, Chaos, Dwarves, etc., they focus so hard on getting injuries, and it costs them the game all the time. because when you're focusing on getting injuries, you're giving up position. And orks are actually incredibly adaptable, because you can play a screening game, you can play a full-on attack game, you can play a passing game, you can play any kind of game. I don't mean passing all the way upfield, but if you do relatively safe passes, then you can get away with it. Whereas elves, of course, you can pass right up the field pretty successfully most of the time.
Yeah, I agree to that completely. Yeah. So now, if we move back to the Tutor League itself,
Mm-hmm.
so do you think orcs are going to have a good league or a bad one?
It's hard to say. I think orcs in general, they're usually one of the best rosters. The only roster that I would say is maybe more successful than orcs in general is lizards and Skaven. They're the two, and wood elves, but in this kind of setup, not really, because there's too many teams that are a problem for wood elves. But the Skaven and the lizards are going to be a problem in this league, and everything else is kind of absolutely fine, to be honest. Though the problem is the coaches. Obviously we're playing with seasoned coaches. It's like luck of the dice. I mean, there's no game that's going to be easy. There's no game that's even going to be comfortable. They're all going to be, full-on brawls. Both coaches doing everything they can to win. And I think in the lineup, actually, I'm one of the worst coaches. I'll say that openly. So there we go.
Well, I can't really agree, and I think I'm quoting you when I'm saying we are our own worst critics.
Yeah, that's true.
But speaking about coaches, is there a coach you think could cause the most problems for you?
Urban Zorro, and not because he's a better coach, he is a better coach, but that's not why. Urban Zorro causes a problem because we have never ever played a serious game, and we can't, because we played each other so often. So, every other coach I can kind of knuckle down and play a proper game, but Urban Zorro, never. And also Fallen Glory, we always have epic games, and it can go either way every time we play. It's never an easy game against Fallen Glory. The other coaches are more predictable, though. The ones I know.
Yeah. So how long do you need to develop a rookie player into a good player, a good coach? Sorry.
It depends on the mentality of the rookie player. I think if a rookie player really wants to learn and isn't too stubborn, like most of us are when we play this game, then they can develop pretty quickly. But if they're a kind of person who's arguing and they say, but this usually works, but they haven't got enough data to really back it up, then it's going to be a problem for them to learn. Basically, the best thing to do when you're a rookie coach is actually watch your games back. I learned that by doing YouTube. If you actually watch your replays, you can learn a hell of a lot of what you do wrong, because you're in a different mindset when you're watching it than when you're playing it.
Yeah, I would give advice and say that you should take 1 day break before you're watching the replay as well.
Yeah.
That way you can have that different mindset when you're looking at it.
Yeah, I think when you get a little bit more experienced, you don't need the break, but when you are starting off, especially if it's a game where you've had a lot of problems with dice or you think it's been really unfair, I mean, most games aren't unfair if you really look at them. And it's much easier to see after a day, like you say, where you went wrong, not where Nuffle screwed you, but where you went wrong.
Yeah, there's this great option while watching a replay. You can pause the game. You can scroll out and see where are the key players, how are they positioned, and what should you have done instead of what you did. Yeah, it's a great advice, really. Yeah, great option.
I'm going to say that the game has finished. If you have more questions, then go for it, because I do let the screen stay in the background, but the game has finished, so if you're just wasting time, you don't need to.
No, I think I'm done with the questions. Yeah. Do you still have something to add to what you said?
I guess there's one thing. This is going to be the last of the Tutor Talks. Krisjay is actually the last secret coach, by the way. That's why I had him on as the interviewer. We didn't set up so that he would be a tutor, but we said that we'd both talk about orks together. So there we go. We have our last secret coach. It is Krisjay. And Chris, if you want to just give your channel a quick plug, then by all means do.
Yeah, I know you've been linking my channel as well, but kind of doing at least look at my teams, and sometimes I hope to introduce something more like featured game from a week sometimes. But yeah, I'm also doing YouTube videos from time to time, at least once a week, and my channel's called Simulation Chris. And if you want to join my YouTube channel and watch some replays together with me, also in time there might be some more matches, interesting matches from ICBBL as well, not just my games, then you're welcome to join.
On that note, actually, I'll say this live, so people hear me say it. I would like to do the same thing as you again, and I was actually hoping that you'd be one of my next co-hosts. So I hope that at one point we can sit down either on your channel or my channel and do exactly what you just said together.
I think that's a wonderful idea, and we should really do it.
Cool. There we go then. And just to say that Krisjay will be linked in the description below, and he's also featured on the channel anyway, so if I do forget to link him for some reason, you can find him in the featured channels on my YouTube channel. He also does all the shields, by the way, including the new shield that we have in the right-hand corner for the Tutor League, which I think is one of your best pieces of work. I actually managed to put it up for this video, so it's finally there for everyone to see.
Thank you. It's one of the few where you didn't forget to put it up, right?
No, it's not that I didn't forget to put it up. It's that it didn't exist in the other Tutor Talks. It's the first one where you actually created it, so I've managed to put it up.
Okay. Well, I've noticed that you sometimes forget to put them up in your videos, and then you go back and you put them up. And
it can happen, yeah.
I kind of smile at those moments.
Yeah. It can happen. It's such a small thing, and when you're thinking of all the things to do, it's the easiest thing to forget. So that's why.
Yeah, that's true. Or I think that's it from me. If you do the usual outro, then I think we'll be done with this video.
Do you want to do the outro, or do you want me to?
No, I think it's your channel. You should do the outro.
Okay. Well, Krisjay introduced, so I want to give special thanks to Chris for joining me and being my interviewer and also opening the video. Thank you very much, Krisjay, for that. One of my favorite guys in the ICBBL as well, so we have a lot of fun together, and sometimes we make fun of each other in Russian.
Sometimes we do, yeah.
So anybody who has been watching, thank you very much. This is the end of the Tutor Talks playlist. It's the last one. It was my one and Krisjay's one. I hope you enjoyed it, and we look forward to actually getting the Tutor League underway. Thanks one more time to Krisjay, and thanks to Full and Glory for coming up with the idea. We'll see you all in Discord or on the pitch soon. Bye bye for now.
Bye.